Yeah, everybody, down here in the workshop, just done a quick little video. I'm installing a reverse camera in Dad's work ute. So I'll just do a little bit of a how-to, simple way of doing it, what's involved. They're pretty simple to wire up. These ones you can pick up on eBay. This is a second-hand one I got from work. To buy a new cable for it. So I'll show you what I'm up to. So what I've done so far is I've just mounted the screen in the cab. I had to make up a bracket to put on there just because I didn't have the old one. So as you can see, yeah, just a little bit of angled alloy goes around there and just screws up into the bottom of the screen like that. I think that's going to be pretty right. It might be a little bit bouncy when he's driving, but yeah, should be right. Yeah, as you see, there's the cable for the screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run that in past the UHF he's got in here, and I might hook the power off the same power wire that UHF runs off, make life a bit easier because I can just slip that straight out and run into there, chuck everything in the back of that, and that should be nice. Then I'll have to run the cable from the camera to the monitor up to the back. And I'll also have to make a little bracket somewhere down here as well for where the camera's going to sit, so you can see the tow ball and whatnot. Yeah, but first I'll get all that wiring wired up, and then we'll make a bracket for the camera, and we'll see how we go with that. So yeah, this will be a short little video. I'll just how to wire up your reverse camera and get that all set up. So stick around. Okay, what I've done here, this is all the wiring for the monitor that gives power and everything, and here's the lead that goes up to the monitor. Here's the wire that connects to the lead for the camera. Alright, so what we got is, this is the power wire. There's also a trigger wire, but what I'm going to do a little bit differently. If you were doing this solely for a reverse camera, you would have power wire to, say, ignition power. Your trigger wire would run off your reverse switch wiring, so that when you went into reverse, that's when it would trigger, and then you would get a picture on the screen. But I don't want it to work like that. What I've done is I've soldered the trigger wire into the power wire behind the fuse, obviously. And what I'm going to do is just hook this straight up to power, so it'll get power straight in, won't need a trigger. And with the earth, what I'm going to do with the earth is run that to a switch, and that's how that's going to work. The circuit will be completed when you flick the switch on. It'll then earth, and then the screen will work, because you don't want the screen draining your battery when the ignition's on, and Dad will want it, so you can just turn the switch on, look at the reverse camera because he tows a lot, and see what's going on. He doesn't necessarily want it to just work when he goes into reverse. It's not all that useful to him if that's how it works. It'll help him backing up, but he'd rather have it so he can just turn it on anytime, look at the trailer, fuel cart, wherever he's towing, and yeah, see what's happening. So that's all ready to be installed now, and I'll work out where I'm going to put the switch. Yeah, as I said, I've just spliced the trigger and the power wire together, and that's how I'm going to set it up. So yeah, I'll get this in now, and we will see if we can get it to work. Alright, what I've done now is I've pulled some of the dash apart just so I can get into the behind where everything is, all the wire and whatnot, where I'm going to wire up. What I'm going to do is come straight off the old cigarette lighter wiring. That's got power when the ignition's turned on, so I'll splice my power wire into that one, and then I'll be able to shovel this wire in there and run me wiring how I want to the monitor, and then I'll run the lead to the camera. Oh no, this is to the monitor, I think. It's on the end. Yeah, that's the monitor. I will then run my camera lead, this one here, out through the bottom of the dash, go get me extension wire, and then run that up to it, and then we'll conduit it and run it down the chassis of the ute up to the camera. So I will splice into this wire now, and then I'll hook all that stuff up in there, and we'll test the monitors getting power. I've also got to install me switch as well for the earth, so I'll work out where I'm going to do that too. So I'll just splice this wire open with a set of wire strippers, and that's exposed the wiring there. do is we'll just shove the wiring up through there, just twist it around it, and we'll solder that together. Battery's going flat on me, bloody soldering on. Hopefully I have enough power to solder this one up. Alright, so that wire is now joined together. I'll just tape it up with a little bit of electrical tape, make sure that it's not going to short out on anything. Okay, that should be pretty good. Just connect that back up to the cigarette lighter. Alright, now we've got that joined up. What I'll do is I'll work out where I'm going to mount my earth wire with the switch, and then I will be right to test whether or not it's working. So I'm just going to work out exactly where I'm going to put this switch. I've got no idea really, so just give me a minute. Okay, I had to pull more dash out just so I could access this lovely spaghetti of wires we have here. So what I've done is I've stuffed in the wiring for the monitor and the camera. Here's the monitor plug here, and that'll run into a hole in the back of this little plastic casing here, which is where the UHF sits, and there's enough room on either side that I can run that up to connect to this one here. And then I've also ran in, here's the earth wire that I'm using for a switch. I ran that into it. That comes up to this switch here, plugs into the back. Then I've got another one coming out the back, runs back out the plastic casing, and it's got one of these little terminals on there. I'm going to earth that just onto where one of the bolts go onto the dash frame, which is metal obviously, and that's how we're going to earth it. And then that switch just sits nice and snug. Just get there, hang on a sec. That sits nice and snug in the gap there. I don't want to go drilling any holes. Dad doesn't want me to drill any holes in the dash because it's his work ute, it's not actually his ute. So everything's just sort of temporary. That'll work fine, that ain't going to go anywhere, just have to push it in there maybe every now and then if it comes loose. So that'll be all good. And then when he gets rid of this ute, or if he stops working there or whatever, we'll take all this back and we'll mount it in whatever he decides to drive, or maybe mum's car or one of the trucks, in the truck, sorry. Yeah, so I will now mount all this back up in there, hook all this wiring up, and then we'll test if the monitor is going to work or not. It should do. I've tested this wiring before I bring it all home. So if it doesn't work, we'll have a little bit of a mission finding out why. So bear with me and I'll quickly get all this back together and then we'll test the screen. Okay, I've got the dash half back together. UHF isn't in there still, so I've got the wiring running down into there. Hopefully the UHF will squeeze in past it. Switch is there. I've just got the ignition on, so we'll flick it on now. Yep, we've got light up there. There we go. Screen's on. No signal. That's because the camera's not wired up yet. So if we turn that off, yeah, beautiful. We'll flick the switch back off. Alright, so that's all working how we want it to. So I can put all this back together and we'll run our wiring for the camera next. Just before I put all this back together, I've just ran the camera wire. It goes up into the back here. I'm just going to run that through the dash and down into the floor and out the cab. Yeah, it's just going to go through here. I just thought I'd quickly show that before I put everything back together. So I'll do that right now. I've run set all the dash and everything back up. I've run the wiring through the bottom of the cab. It just comes out the bottom here. So what I'm going to do now is chuck some conduit on this wiring, and that'll keep it protected from rubbing through on anything on the chassis. And then I'll be able to hook it up to the camera and make the camera bracket. I've made up a little bracket to hold the camera because I don't have one for it. So it's just got the one bolt through the back, and what I'm going to do is just bolt it into that hole just there, which is threaded already. Should go in there tight enough that shouldn't spin, hopefully. And I've just drilled a hole on each side to hold the camera. With these cameras, they're meant to have 3 screws in each side, as you can see there, because you're meant to be able to pivot it like so, and that locks them in. But I can't find any bolts or screws that are small enough to fit in those little holes on the outside edges, so I'm just going to do it up with the one screw on each side, and if it moves a little bit we'll just have to tighten it up and just readjust it. That should be alright. But the bracket they usually come with has 2 more holes next to them ones, and you can pivot the camera inside the bracket. So there. Alright, so I'll get this bolted up now, and then we'll put the camera on, finish the wiring. I've ran the wiring up through the chassis. I'll zip tie that all up, and then yeah, we'll be right to hook it up and make sure she's all working nicely. Alright, got the bracket on. That's on there pretty solid, I reckon. So now I'll just mount this camera up. I've just put a spring washer and a flat washer on these screws to help keep them in there tight. Right, that's on there, nice and solid, looking pretty schmicko, I reckon. So now we'll hook the wiring up and quickly test it. Hopefully, I said toe pull, it's on the, had to put on a bit of an angle because of the trailer connector there, and where the bar sits here, you wouldn't be able to see it if I had it up any higher. So hopefully you'll be able to see that. Should be able to. We'll hook that wiring up and then we'll have a look. Okay, well, I had a little bit of a trouble with the camera now. Because of how I've got to mount it, when I squish it right down, the wire really bends up high. Yeah, it's fine as I have it sitting there. I'll jump in, turn it on, and I can see what's going on. As soon as you screw it down and put it where it needs to be and you bend that wire up, I reckon it shorts to ground, because it's bringing the camera on even with the switch off. So it's got a short to ground in the back of the wiring here somehow, in the camera unit itself. So that's a bit of a bugger, but I'll bodgy it up there, a bit of tape or something to hold it on, just so Dad can use it as it is, and I'll get another camera off eBay. Yeah, it's a bit of a bugger, but oh well, I guess I didn't pay anything for it. I just picked it up from work because I was replacing one on another truck. So here's what it is. We'll make do for however long it takes to get a new camera. And I suppose if I get a new camera, I'll have the proper fitting there, because the nut busted off this end of the plug here, so I can't actually do it up. I have to tape it up. So at least that'll be done properly if I get another one. So yeah, I'll show you what it looks like at the back. So that's shorted there now. See, flicking the switch, doesn't turn off, so it's got a shorter ground. But there's the view, so it is working sort of, but I'll bodgy that up so that works properly for Dad, and then I'll get a new camera during the week. So yeah, that's a pain in the ass, but that is how it is. I could have not. I'll put this video out as it is. It'll show you not everything does go perfectly for everybody. Yeah, but I'll get another camera. That's a simple way of how you can hook them up. They're pretty straightforward when you've got the working equipment. As you can see, it was like only a few wires. I just joined a couple together. So I reckon that'll do me. I'll tape all that up, get it sort of half rigged up, and I'll see you to the next one.